A man drives down a lonely stretch of highway. The sun is setting, the road hums beneath his tires, and the radio fills the silence. A news host speaks with certainty about who's ruining the country, what to be afraid of, and why you should care. The man's jaw tightens, his pulse rises. He curses under his breath. He feels righteous, angry, alive, but he doesn't really know why. At the next light, he changes the station. Another voice says the opposite thing, with the same certainty, and for a moment, he agrees with that one too. Two sides, one reaction. Different words, same emotion. He turns the radio off and tells himself he's thinking freely now. He believes the silence means control. But it doesn't. You think you're thinking. But most of what happens inside your head was programmed not by accident. It began years ago. Every time you were told what a real man should be, what success looks like, what's right, what's wrong, it continued. Every time someone learned which images make you proud, which words make you afraid, which symbols make you obey. Some of that programming comes from inside you. The old memories you never healed. The voices from childhood that still whisper who you're allowed to be. The rest comes from outside. From people who understand how to pull those invisible strings better than you do. So every time you get angry at a stranger online, every time you chase a dream you never defined, every time you defend an idea you didn't question, you're not choosing, you're reacting to code. A code written long before you ever noticed it was there. And the real question isn't if you've been programmed. It's who did the programming and why. Have you ever wondered why you believe the same things as everyone around you? Why your opinions, your fears, even your dreams sound suspiciously familiar? Why you keep saying you're thinking for yourself, yet somehow end up wanting what everyone else wants? It's not because you're weak or stupid. It's because the game was designed long before you entered it. You were born into a world that studies how your mind works and how to make it work against you. To understand how that happened, we need to meet two men. The first lived to understand the hidden machinery of the human mind. The second learned how to use that machinery to control entire nations. The first was Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, who uncovered how we lie to ourselves, how our fears and forgotten memories shape every choice we make. He didn't just study behavior, he mapped the human soul, the conscious, the unconscious, and everything in between. Jung showed that most people don't live their own lives. They live the unfinished stories of their past. The second was Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, a man who read his uncle's ideas and thought, what if I use this knowledge to control the masses instead of helping them? Bernays became the father of modern propaganda, turning psychology into marketing and emotion into manipulation. Today, we'll open the battlefield between these two forces. Jung will expose the enemy inside you. Bernays will reveal the enemy outside. And by the end, you'll see exactly who's been thinking in your head and how to take your mind back. Most people believe they control their thoughts. They wake up, make choices, argue, work, dream, and assume it all comes from reason. But Carl Jung discovered something far less comfortable. He found that most of what we call thinking is not thinking at all, it is reacting. It is the past repeating itself through you. The mind is clever enough to deceive itself, and it does it every single day. First, the mind reacts with memory. Jung called these memories emotional knots, small pockets of unfinished pain that stay alive beneath awareness. They are not memories you recall. They are memories that use you. Someone criticizes you today, and a storm rises in your chest. You defend, you attack. You shut down, you tell yourself. You are reacting to the present moment, but you are not. You are reliving an old humiliation. A voice from childhood telling you that you are never enough. That moment never ended. It sits there waiting for a trigger, waiting for the tone of voice, the gesture, the look that wakes it up again. You think you got angry because of what was said? You got angry because the old wound demanded to be felt again. Jung said when a complex takes hold, it is like being possessed. You lose command of your ship, and something older takes the wheel. That is why people repeat the same arguments for years, with different faces and different names, never realizing they are fighting ghosts. Second, there is the shadow, the side of you spend your life trying to avoid. Your jealousy, your lust, your weakness, your aggression. You bury them deep because you want to be good, respectable, in control. But what you bury does not die. It grows in the dark, shaping your behavior in ways you cannot see. That is why the man who condemns temptation becomes obsessed with it. That is why the woman who preaches peace explodes in private rage. The shadow is not evil. It is the energy you refuse to integrate. It wants recognition, not suppression. And the more you deny it, the more power it gains over you. A person who believes he has no darkness becomes the easiest one to manipulate, because he can be guilted, shamed, or flattered into obedience. All it takes is the right appeal to his self-image, and the shadow will do the rest. Third, there is the persona, the mask you wear for the world. You create it to survive society. You learn to smile when you are angry, to nod when you disagree, to appear strong when you feel weak. You learn to play the roles expected of you, the father, the provider, the gentleman, the team player. Over time, the mask hardens. You forget where the mask ends and where you begin. When that happens, the world can control you, simply by threatening the mask. A single comment about your job title, your body, your social status can make you feel worthless. You protect the mask because you think it is you. Jung warned that the persona is necessary for social life, but deadly for individuality. When the mask becomes the man, the soul goes silent forth. There is the inner voice that was never yours. You think you are hearing yourself when you say, "I should work harder," or "real men don't cry," or "success means money." But those words were planted in you long ago. Parents, teachers, religions, cultures, each left their echo in your mind. You memorized their tone, their judgment, their reward. Now their voices speak as if they were your own. They decide what you desire, what you fear, what you consider possible. That is how society reproduces itself. Without force, it does not need chains. It only needs children who carry its voice inside their heads. And finally, Jung's truth. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That sentence contains the entire tragedy of modern man. He blames luck, circumstance, and other people, never realizing the pattern is coming from within. He dates the same kind of person, ruins the same opportunities, feels the same emptiness year after year. He calls it destiny because he cannot see the strings. But destiny is just unconscious repetition. Awareness cuts the strings. Jung's work was not about theories or fancy words. It was a warning. He built a map of the inner battlefield so that man could recognize his own traps before someone else learned how to use them. But someone did learn. Someone read Jung's discoveries and thought, if the unconscious controls people, then whoever understands it can control the world. That man was Bernays. He turned the human mind into a marketing machine. He learned how to sell products, ideas, and ideology straight through the back door of the unconscious. And in doing so, he changed the entire course of the modern world. Carl Jung showed us the inside of the mind. Bernays learned how to use it. Where Jung wanted to free the individual, Bernays wanted to guide the masses. He was not a scientist, he was an engineer of belief. The nephew of Sigmund Freud, he took the study of human psychology and turned it into an instrument of control. He understood that people do not act on logic. They act on emotion, and if you can control emotion, you can control behavior. He called it public relations. The world calls it modern life. Bernays did not sell products. He sold feelings. He knew that people buy symbols, not objects. They buy what the product says about them. So he redefined advertising. Instead of selling a car, he sold power. Instead of selling a cigarette, he sold freedom. When he wanted women to smoke, he called the cigarettes torches of freedom. He staged a parade in New York, filled with elegant women, lighting up in public. The press took the photos. The world saw the image, and overnight, smoking became a symbol of independence. Bernays never mentioned the product. He sold the emotion behind it. He understood that if you could attach a product to a deep desire or archetype, the conscious mind would surrender without a fight. Bernays also understood the power of illusion. He learned how to create events that existed, only to be reported. He called them pseudo-events. Staged moments designed to look spontaneous. A press conference, a celebration. A controversy. It did not matter if it was real. It only mattered that it was covered. Because once people read it in the paper, it became true in their minds. Reality, Bernays realized, is not what happens, it is what people believe happened. And belief can be manufactured. He built an entire system on that principle. Today, the same trick drives social media. Viral trends, public outrage. Even some movements, they begin as manufactured sparks, designed to trigger emotion. And once emotion takes over, logic leaves the room. But Bernays also knew he could not reach everyone directly. He discovered what sociologists later called the two-step flow. He realized that people do not trust companies or governments, they trust other people. So he used influencers long before the internet existed. He planted his ideas inside journalists, doctors, professors, community leaders, anyone the public already believed. They would then repeat his messages in their own words, thinking they were spreading truth, but they were spreading Bernays. He once said, "We are governed. Our minds molded, our tastes formed. Our ideas suggested by men we have never heard of." That sentence was not a warning. It was a victory speech. He had found the lever that moved the world. The techniques grew more sophisticated. What began as print and radio became television, then digital media, then algorithms. The logic never changed, only the tools. The goal was the same: to keep your emotions predictable, because predictable people are profitable. Bernays understood that fear sells safety, guilt sells morality, desire sells identity. So the modern world became a factory of stimulation. Every ad, every headline, every notification is a small pull on the same strings. He once discovered, the system no longer needs one man behind it. It runs itself. It is built into every platform, every campaign, every message. It does not want you to think. It wants you to react. You can see it everywhere. The news tells you what to fear. The brands tell you what to want. The culture tells you what to believe. And the moment you feel something strong, pride, anger, outrage, hope, someone, somewhere is cashing in. Bernays would call that efficiency. Jung would call it possession. It is the perfect marriage between inner weakness and external manipulation. The unconscious provides the buttons. Propaganda provides the finger that pushes them. That is how the modern man loses his freedom, not through chains or orders, but through gentle nudges that feel like choices. Bernays turned manipulation into an art form. He believed society needed to be guided, because people were too emotional to think for themselves. He thought control was kindness. And maybe he was right about one thing. Emotion does move the world. But when emotion is engineered, freedom disappears. Today, the legacy of Bernays lives inside. Every algorithm that predicts your next click, every politician who hires a psychologist to craft a slogan, every company that studies your behavior to design desire, the tools of persuasion have become invisible. And that is what makes them powerful. Because when control becomes invisible, it becomes absolute. Byrne once said that the best propaganda is the one that makes people believe they thought of it themselves. He won that war a century ago. The question is whether you can still see the battlefield. Carl Jung built the map of the human mind. Edward Bernays learned how to drive on it. One sought truth, the other sought control. And when their ideas collided, a quiet war began, a war fought inside your head. Jung revealed the hidden structure of human nature. He showed that every person has patterns, symbols, and desires that live beneath awareness. He believed that if a man faced those forces honestly, he could become whole. But Bernays saw those same forces as tools. He realized that if people are driven by unconscious emotion, then you don't need to convince them. You only need to press the right emotional key. Where Jung taught self-knowledge, Bernays taught manipulation. Where Jung wanted you to become conscious, Bernays wanted you to stay predictable. When those two forces meet, the result is modern man. A creature caught between his own instincts and the messages built to exploit them. Your inner complexes make you reactive. Your shadow makes you ashamed. Your persona makes you easy to reward. And the world outside has learned how to play. Each note perfectly, every advertisement, every speech, every headline is written for a part of you you barely understand. You think you are scrolling, deciding, choosing, but the truth is that the world is not selling you products or politics. It is selling you yourself, the image you already believe in. This is why the system never feels forced. No one has to control you directly. They only have to understand how you will control yourself. They only have to whisper the right story and let your unconscious do the rest. You react, you consume. You obey, all while feeling free. That is the brilliance of the machine, and that is the tragedy of it. Because the real battlefield of this century is not out there in governments or corporations. It is here, in the space between what you feel and why you feel it. The war inside your mind is not about information. It is about awareness. Whoever owns your attention owns your thoughts, and whoever owns your thoughts owns you. You don't have to look far to see how this war plays out. It's everywhere in what you buy, what you vote for, and even what you dream about. Take the world of advertising. Picture a truck commercial. A man driving through a storm, mud on the tires, country music in the background. A deep voice says words like strength, reliability, legacy. A child sits in the back seat looking up at his father. You feel something rise in your chest, pride, safety, belonging. That feeling doesn't come from the truck. It comes from the story. The ad doesn't sell horsepower. It sells identity. You're not buying a vehicle. You're buying a symbol, proof that you are a good man, a protector, someone who provides. And that story taps directly into Jung's archetypes, the ancient patterns that live inside every man. The advertiser doesn't have to know your name. They only need to know the kind of hero you dream of being. And in that moment, your unconscious makes the purchase before your logic even speaks. Now look at politics. A politician steps on stage waving the flag, promising to protect our children, or make the country great again. The crowd roars. But what really happens is psychological. Those words trigger the same archetypes as the truck commercial, the protector, the savior, the warrior. They awaken the same complexes that Bernays once studied: fear, pride, loyalty. The message feels personal, but it's engineered. Each slogan, each color, each image is a psychological lever. You don't analyze it, you feel it. And that feeling makes you believe. When you defend your side with anger, you're not defending truth. You're defending an emotional illusion built to keep you fighting. Both the advertiser and the politician understand the same rule: people don't act on facts. They act on feelings that feel like truth. The moment your emotions are predictable, your actions are owned. And in a world built on manipulation, the most profitable thing you can be is unconscious. If this war is inside your mind, then the only way to win is to take it back. Not through anger, not through rebellion, but through awareness. Because once you can see the strings, you can stop being pulled by them. The first step is to name the voice. When a thought appears, the one that says, "Work harder, buy more," don't show weakness, stop and ask, whose voice is this? Your father's? Your boss's? Your culture's? Most of the time it isn't yours. Once you name it, it loses power. The second step is to pause. Every strong emotion demands reaction: anger, fear, pride. But if you pause for 5 seconds, you break the reflex in those 5 seconds. The unconscious loses its grip and reason returns. That is where freedom begins. The third step is to trace the motive. Whenever a message makes you feel urgent, ask, who benefits if I believe this? Follow the money, follow the influence. There is always someone behind the feeling. The fourth step is to reduce repetition. The more often you see a message, the more real it feels, so cut the noise. Scroll less, turn off the feed that keeps feeding on you. Silence is not emptiness, it is detox for the mind. And the fifth step is to write. Spend 5 minutes a day putting your own thoughts on paper. Not to post, not to share, just to hear your real voice again. The more you listen to it, the louder it becomes. Control does not mean isolation. It means awareness. And awareness is the one thing no one can sell you or take away. The real war was never out there. It has always been inside your head, between the thoughts you choose and the ones chosen for you, between awareness and automation. The systems outside will not stop. The voices inside will not disappear. But the moment you become conscious of them, the war begins to turn. Be still, listen. Ask, who is speaking before you? Obey, because every man who reclaims his own mind becomes a threat to every system built to control it. Share this message. Someone you know is still fighting that war without even knowing it.